Montreal was there. People, everybody who said that it should be the permanent site of the draft was absolutely right. It was the atmosphere was incredible.
Yep.
Everybody was into it. You know, they booed Bettman when they were supposed to. They cheered. They did, everything. And it was really, really good. It was really well done.
Yep.
And, Montreal's a great city to begin with, so it's not hard to have a good time there.
So I had friends that were...
But I'm not taking my wife every year, wife. Like, just because it's a 4-hour drive away.
She's not bothering listening to you on a podcast.
She's
Apparently he's going to listen to you at home.
Yeah, no. Nope, she's not listening to this.
I had friends that were in the stands that said that they loved it.
Yeah.
I had friends that were on the floor.
Yep.
Media that said that they loved it. And you went.
Nice. Oh, that's nice.
Pow! Got him.
Pow!
Got him. So should we then start by talking about the draft?
Right.
So first of all, our apologies. I tweeted it out, but Rogers, as those that know, went down. We were planning on doing a podcast from essentially Ken would be on the draft floor and I'd be here in mission control.
Mission control.
Yes,
yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Scarborough, we have a problem.
Scarborough, we have lots of problems.
But amazing restaurants are not one.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oof.
Nope.
It's just a hidden gem of restaurants here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyways,
let's keep going.
Our apologies for not doing that. So we're not going to go into the nitty gritty, all that stuff, because I'm sure you've listened to 35 podcasts that have already gone into all the nitty gritty of everything. We're just going to talk about.
Plus, I wasn't paying attention well enough.
Well, I wasn't paying attention because I didn't have internet.
Yeah.
So I Rogers
know what I mean? Evil Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways. So take that, Sportsnet. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if the Wi-Fi went out at the Bell Center?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember once when I was covering the Leafs and they were playing, the Leafs were playing the Capitals in the Verizon, what was then the Verizon Center, I think it was, or something, I don't know. I think it was Verizon Center. Anyways, they called up. It was like when you still had to call up when they were doing a review or something.
Yeah.
And the phone didn't work. And Curtis Joseph made a joke about that. That was pretty good.
Oh, well, Cujo's known for his quick wit.
He is.
Yes.
He is. Actually.
So we're going to talk about the first four. Shane Wright, as everyone expected, out of the top three. Just as we all had predicted.
Yep. Just as for the last 2 years, everybody's been nailing that one.
So let's start off. Top of the list, Slafkovsky.
Yep.
What did you think of the Slafkovsky pick? What did you think was going through Kent Hughes' mind?
Well, okay.
Or Hugo, as it were.
I guess I'm loath to say, yeah, great pick, bad pick, right. This kind of pick, that kind of pick, because I've been to at least 25 drafts, maybe 30. I follow this, I follow it afterwards, and there's pretty much an established pattern in almost every draft.
Right.
Right. And so there's going to be a couple of guys in the top 10 that aren't going to work out.
Yep.
And then there's going to be a guy that was picked in the 6th round who's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And then there's going to be a guy who's now playing for the Oakville Blades and wasn't even drafted and is going to be a great player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I really and I just I'm not going to sit here and say, this is a good pick, this is a bad pick, when there are people who make their livings and their lives and they watch these players play 100 times a
little bit of
year.
insufficient information to go off of for that.
But anyways, I thought it was interesting. And what I can tell you is what I was hearing from those people, what I was hearing from those scouts. And a lot of those scouts that I talked to before the draft were saying, there's something not there. He's not dynamic. Shane Wright, I'm talking about. Shane Wright.
Yeah.
He's not dynamic.
Yeah.
He wasn't good this year. He missed the whole year. He was a lot better in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's also on the Kingston Frontenacs, which was not a...
Well, they were a pretty good team this year. They were pretty good. They were pretty good. But like most 18-year-olds would give their left, to have 92 points in 64 games.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Arm.
So I think it, arm. Yeah. But I think that he was a victim of expectation.
Yep.
And the expectation was, You know, and then you start to pick apart things. You start to find things that are wrong.
Yeah.
And he misses a year,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff. So, but I just, you know, the scouts I talked to, they were all like, you know, we'd go and watch him play. We'd say he didn't do much. And then I'd talk, the guy would say, I'd talk to a guy who watched him 2 nights later, and I'd say, hey, how was he then? And same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't, you know, I don't know. I don't know if Shane Wright is now going to go on a 31 city barnstorming tour with the Seattle Kraken to shove it up everybody's butt. You know, like that death stare was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe he just says, you know, screw it.
Yeah.
I am going to show all these people that they were wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to play with a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
He might. I don't know. Slafkovsky, it's interesting because if you talk to Craig Ramsey, who coaches the Slovak national team, he will say, I can tell you why he was picked first.
Right.
You know, he had like 1 goal in a month and a half in Finland this year.
Yeah.
In league play. But it's different. They don't
Top
play
5 hockey league in the world as well.
It is. It's a very good league.
Yeah.
They don't play as much.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a young guy, you tend to get put in a defensive role, you know, that kind of thing. They roll 4 lines, like in Sweden and Finland, like they just roll 4 lines, right? They don't, it's so, but I mean, you know, you look at him, what he did in the Olympics, you look at what he did in the World Championship, and boy, oh boy, I mean, it's hard to argue with that level of play in those situations. Both of which are kind of watered down a bit. I mean, the Olympics wasn't
true.
Wasn't what
best.
we were.
Yeah.
It wasn't best on best. Neither is a world championship. But I mean, for an 18-year-old to come in and do that, and I think they met with him, and Jeff Molson met with him on like the couple of days before the draft, and they were really impressed by his level of maturity.
Yeah.
But then you know what? Like, I've seen more guys get fooled by interviewing players.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, give me the dumbest guy in the draft. Give me that guy. I want the guy who can't add 2 + 2.
Right.
I want that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if he's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. But I know a lot of teams and a lot of scouts and a lot of GMs who have gotten snowed by a guy who comes through in an interview and he sounds like he's going to be the greatest guy ever, and he is a great guy, but then it turns out he can't play.
The flip side of that is, didn't somebody want to fight Yakupov? Didn't Brian Burke want to fight Yakupov after the Yakupov interview?
Yeah, something like
There's
that.
a story about that.
Yeah.
So did you hear about Kent Hughes' injury at the draft right after making that pick?
The Slafkovsky pick?
Yeah, he had an injury.
What was it?
He sprained his ankle. Do you know how he did that?
No.
He fell off of his giant testicles.
Wow.
Sprained his ankle.
Wow. Yeah, you went a long way for that one, eh, buddy?
I had to take the long road around.
Long
hook,
way.
line, and sinker on that one, baby. So no, but joking aside, I wondered this. Okay, I all things being equal, I would have taken Shane Wright. I've also seen, talking about people being fooled, I've seen people being fooled by a great World Juniors or a great World Championship or whatever, like just a great showing in a tournament, and then all of a sudden everybody's all, clamoring all over each other to get that player. But Kirby Dach was the trade, and we will talk about trades later. And I kind of wonder if they were basically pursuing Kirby Dach and Patrick Laine, and they were like, whichever one we get, we'll draft the opposite of that player. So if we can get Kirby Dach, then we're drafting Slafkovsky, and if we can get Patrick Laine, then we're going to draft Shane Wright. Because I think that, and we will talk about the trade more, but I just think that they're probably thinking to themselves, Kirby Dach has had a couple years of very disappointing, but
very disappointing. Very disappointing
of development. He's had a couple years of development in Chicago. Yeah, and is Kirby Dach, when he was drafted, how does he compare to Shane Wright at 18?
Right.
And so why not get 21-year-old Shane Wright, as in Kirby Dach? And so I just think that there's that. I mean, something that a friend of mine texted me as well, though, before the draft was, He's a Leafs fan, and he goes, yeah, you guys should definitely get Slafkovsky. I remember when the choice in Toronto was a boring center that, who cares? He's just so boring compared to a really out there winger who scores lots of goals. Referring to Matthews and Laine, right? And it's kind of like, well, it's a pretty obvious choice now, in hindsight.
Yeah.
And so, do you have more to say on Slafkovsky, or do you want to move on to number 2?
I do have one more thing to say on Slafkovsky that does concern me, and that is that I don't think you ever, unless it's an exceptional player, you don't draft to fill a position.
Yes.
And I think the last time the Canadians did that, they regretted it.
How about the last
when they drafted
Jesperi
Kotkaniemi? And now I'm thinking,
and Alex Galchenyuk.
Yeah, and now I'm thinking, did they envision their top line being Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and Juraj Slafkovsky?
That's what Slafkovsky said.
Yeah. So that would concern me. However, I do think the guy he's a beast.
Yeah.
They need, they need some size. And I mean, Shane Wright's got good size, but
Slafkovsky's probably fairly can't miss though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Shane Wright will maybe be a number 1 center, probably be a number 2 center, but you could
might
see
be
him,
a number 3 center,
but you could see him slipping to be a 3 or 4.
He might. No, I don't think he'll be 4.
Well,
I think he has a chance to be an elite number 3, like an elite number 3.
Sure.
Or a good number 2.
Yeah. My thing about always the Nick Bonino. Where's your Nick Bonino, right? If you want to win a cup. But anyways, my point is that Shane Wright, there was a pretty varied set of outcomes, whereas Juraj Slafkovsky, I think that if you were to basically, like a 90% chance he becomes a top 6 winger?
Yeah.
Maybe better.
Yeah.
If we, maybe 90% for a top line winger and 99% for a top 6 winger. So I think that there is a little bit of it's the safer pick, even though it's not the
Slafkovsky. No, I have to disagree.
You don't think so?
No, I think Shane Wright was the safe pick. And you talked about him falling off his big testicles, and that's because he went with the not safe pick.
Shane Wright was a safe pick because he was the consensus pick.
Right. Yeah, and also because he may not get much better, but you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy who's going to be an industrious two-way. Although I think when I've talked to scouts too, this whole business of him being this defensively conscious guy is a little bit that's
overrated.
There's a little bit of gilding the lily there, and people are sort of thinking that this guy's going to be Patrice Bergeron when, it's saying anybody's going to be Patrice Bergeron is dangerous. But
the comparable I got was Nick Suzuki.
Yeah.
And because the comparable I got was Nick Suzuki, the person that I thought Montreal might be taking a close look at was Logan Cooley.
Right.
But let's jump on to number 2. Mm-hmm. We've taken up a lot of time with Slafkovsky. Let's jump on to number 2. Nemec.
Yeah, Simon Nemec. Yeah.
Simon Nemec. Pretty clearly the best defenseman in this draft class.
Yep. Yeah, he was better. I think he's better than Jiricek. Yeah.
I think there was considered a bit of a divide between him and the next group of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
The thing, and funny that you said drafting for position for the Montreal Canadiens, because my first thought with the New Jersey Devils taking Nemec is that they're drafting for a position. That was my first thought.
Interesting. Well, I was talking to Tom Fitzgerald after the draft, and he was saying that...
Who? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. He was saying that they really, really, again, leaned on Craig Ramsey on that pick too.
Right.
They talked to him a lot, and they put a lot of credence into his opinion on this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think that by saying that, you're saying that you don't think that they're drafting for position.
No, I don't think they are.
They thought was the second best player available.
I mean, and you look down the line at this team, and you've got a top 3 defense core of Dougie Hamilton, Luke Hughes, and Simon Nemec. Pretty good place to start, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there much else to say on Nemec?
No.
I guess, To me, I'm not 100% sold on Luke Hughes yet, although his
You're not?
No, not 100%.
You're not. Really?
No.
Huh.
We'll see.
Well, you should watch the games, my friend.
No, but you know what? It's a tough position. There's a lot that goes into being a defenseman.
Yeah.
But
and it was tough for Scott Niedermayer for a while too. And then he got really good.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not. Look,
It was
I think that
really
Luke
tough.
Hughes
It was really tough for Chris Pronger the first couple of years.
Look, I think that the chances that Luke Hughes becomes an excellent defenseman in the NHL are better than the chances of him falling off the face of the earth. But I'm just saying that I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm looking at my team and Dougie Hamilton, of course, being older now as well with the young team coming up,
Right.
you know, I'm just, I don't think that it's so crazy to say that Simon Nemec, you know, maybe they had him hand in hand with Logan Cooley and they thought, let's take the defenseman. Right.
Yeah.
So let's go to number 3, Logan Cooley, Arizona Coyotes. Boy, that brings some fun to the desert.
It does.
That brings some fun to the desert.
Yeah, and there's people who would have told you before the draft that this guy might be the best of them.
So
This guy might be the best of them. He's a dynamic skater, very offensive.
his hands are outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah.
His stick handling looks like Trevor Zegras.
Yep.
Which is a good thing. Sources say.
Yeah.
Right? His hands are outrageous. His skating is outrageous. A little bit undersized, but I mean, like, who cares?
Yeah,
right?
no.
You know, the mold is being thrown out, which is great. My thought was that Montreal might go for Logan Cooley, considering the fact that if Shane Wright is like another, there's a male mosquito there.
That's just the biggest bug I've ever seen in my life.
Male mosquitoes don't bite though.
Oh, they don't, eh?
No.
Okay.
Females only feed on blood when they produce eggs.
Okay.
Interestingly.
Interestingly. Okay.
So you're killing a mother.
I didn't kill it.
No, when
I
a
see.
mosquito,
Okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
you're
Okay,
killing
yeah, yeah.
you're killing a mother.
All right.
Yeah, you psycho. I thought that Montreal might go for Logan Cooley because you've got Nick Suzuki already.
Yep.
And then you've got a situation where you've got an elite defensive and elite offensive center potentially.
Right.
But yeah, I like Logan Cooley a lot. I'm very, very high on him.
Well, I like that he's going to be going to the University of Minnesota for probably at least a year.
He should.
Yeah. No, I like that.
And especially for his size to be an NCAA program where he's going to be hitting the old pumping some iron, as it were.
Well, yeah, they play on weekends and they practice and work out during the week.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that's going to be great. Now, finally, in this draft, let's talk about Seattle Kraken drafting Shane Wright.
Right. Correct. Right.
I mean, they've just got to be like.
Well, it was the start. It was actually the start of 2 very good days for Seattle.
My question with Ron Francis did the horseshoe come out this way or did he have to angle it out? That's my question.
Well, it was the start of 2 very good days because, like I don't follow these prospects like I used to, but from what I could gather from those who do, Seattle did well. Seattle did really well.
I've heard that myself. Yeah.
And so it was the start of 2 good days for them.
Yeah.
You know, and what I think, like to me, the smartest thing that the Seattle Kraken could do is sign Logan Cooley to an entry-level contract, give him a signing bonus.
Shane Wright, you mean?
Or yeah, sorry, Shane Wright.
Yeah.
Give him a signing bonus, give him 7 or 8 games in the NHL, send them back to Kingston.
Yeah, I've heard the idea of sending him back to the OHL. My concern there is that
he's not too good for the OHL. He's not too good.
You don't think that he's bored?
No, I don't think so. No, he's got a, I mean, he could play in the World Juniors. He could, I think it would be an outstanding thing for him to go back and play junior. I want to talk about the 5th pick too.
Oh, let's talk about the 5th pick. I've got very little to say on the subject.
Yeah. Cutter Gauthier.
Yeah,
of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah. Of the program.
The program. But here's like, because I have a good story on this.
Oh, okay, good.
I have a really good story about this.
I want to hear it.
Okay, so Cutter Gauthier, first of all, a guy who rocketed up the charts too.
Yes.
Another guy who was, maybe wasn't being talked about this highly in the past, until sort of quite recently.
Yep.
Right. But anyways, so I used to work at a newspaper in Sudbury, which is my hometown. Cutter Gauthier's father, Sean, was the goalie for the AAA midget team
Really?
in that city. So I know Sean.
Right.
And so I saw him after the draft
Yeah.
on Friday night.
Yeah.
And so we chatted and everything, and it's like Cutter. And I said, is Cutter, like, what is that? And he goes, well, his mother-in-law, Sean Gauthier's mother-in-law, when he was in Sweden, she was visiting, and she saw this term in a Swedish cookbook. And she thought, that's a great name. And they thought, what a great name. So they called him Cutter.
Huh.
It's got nothing to do with apropos of nothing, right?
Right.
And so they called him Cutter. And I'm like, oh, cool.
Cutter was the bad guy that turned good at the end of Ants,
Okay, great.
the Woody Allen movie.
Oh, yeah? No, I haven't seen it.
Anyways,
Yeah. Anyways.
that's where I thought he got it from.
No, he got it from this.
Yeah.
And anyways, so where was I? So I go to my buddy Uffe Bodin from Sweden.
Right.
And I said, hey, so anyways,
When you're cooking,
yeah, like what's
Swedish,
the deal? What's the deal here with
what's
this?
Cutter?
What's the deal with this Cutter thing? He goes, He says, I don't know.
Yeah.
He says, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
He says, the only word that's close to it is catter, which means cats. And I said, well, you're not going to find that in a Swedish cookbook, are you? I hope not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's like, he doesn't even know. Like it's a big mystery.
Yeah, but maybe he doesn't cook though.
No, I think he would know it.
You have to. You asked an NHL scout about a cookbook.
No,
for
he's
home
not
cooking.
an NHL scout. He's a fellow
okay.
journalist.
Oh, okay.
So anyways, he said, I don't know. I have no idea. He says, I'm as bewildered by it as everybody else.
So it's
This
funny
kid's
because
super
I
confident
asked
too.
you,
Wow.
I asked you, I was like, before the podcast started, I was like, give us a tidbit from the draft that like you're not going to get anywhere else. And you're like, oh, Dylan, I've got no tidbits.
No.
That was like 5-minute story on Cutter.
Yeah.
on
Well,
Cutter
there you go.
Gauthier.
And he's going to be good. I think he's going to be a
Yeah.
good player. He's good. He's been moved from left wing to center, going to Boston College next year. I just love the kid's moxie. He's really confident without
Yeah.
being an arse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, he just really has it going.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's got Sudbury connections. So he's great.
So he's good in your book.
He's good in my book.
Yeah.
Yep.